The spaceship Aurora floated silently above the bright green world of Zytheria. Captain Auric Vance stood by the observation window, staring at the planet below. Towering crystal forests glimmered under the sun, and rivers of light floated through the air like ribbons. He had seen many worlds before, but nothing like this. Zytheria seemed alive in a way that no human world could ever be. "Captain," said Lieutenant Mara Ellis, walking up beside him. "The welcoming ceremony will begin in 15 minutes. Are you ready?" Auric turned from the window and smiled faintly. "As ready as I can be. I've read the reports, but I still don't know what to expect." Mara nodded. "The Zytherians are very formal, but I heard a rumor that even their royalty is curious about humans." Auric raised an eyebrow. "Curious, huh? That sounds promising." The shuttle descended slowly toward a massive landing platform that hovered just above the glowing grass. Zytherian architecture was unlike anything Auric had seen. Crystal towers spiraled toward the sky, and bridges of light connected buildings without a single visible support. The Zytherians themselves moved with grace. Their skin shimmered faintly and their eyes glowed with a soft light. They were taller than humans, slender, and every movement was precise, almost like a dance. As the shuttle doors opened, a hush fell over the welcoming crowd. Auric stepped forward, his uniform crisp and his posture confident. He noticed whispers among the Zytherians, but they were not hostile. Instead, they seemed intrigued. From the crowd, a figure stepped forward. She moved with unmatched elegance, her robes flowing like liquid crystal. Her hair shimmered like sunlight on water, and her eyes glowed with a pale blue light. Captain Auric felt a strange pull in his chest. "That must be Princess Lyria," Mara whispered. "She is unlike anyone you've met." Auric took a deep breath as she approached. Her gaze was steady, and when she looked at him, it felt as though she could see into his thoughts. There was a calm strength about her, but also a softness, a curiosity. "Welcome, Captain Auric Vance," she said in a voice that was smooth, melodic, and strangely human in its warmth. "We are honored by your presence." Auric bowed slightly, unsure if the gesture was appropriate, but he wanted to show respect. "The honor is mine, Princess Lyria. Humanity has long admired Zytheria from afar. Now we hope to learn and share together." The princess inclined her head. "Then let this be the beginning of understanding." The ceremony began with music unlike anything Auric had ever heard. Notes floated through the air like sparkling light, and the Zytherians moved in patterns that seemed to make the light itself dance. Humans stood awkwardly, unsure how to respond, but Auric found himself drawn into the rhythm, feeling a strange connection with the energy around him. Then came the part he would never forget. The ceremony ended with a symbolic gesture of friendship, a hand touch. Leaders of each species would briefly touch hands, signifying trust and cooperation. Auric stepped forward, feeling his heartbeat quicken. When his hand met Lyria's, something extraordinary happened. A warm energy surged through him like sunlight flowing into water. At the same moment, Lyria trembled, slightly, almost imperceptibly, but enough to make Auric freeze in surprise. She quickly composed herself, but the brief tremble left both of them stunned. Auric withdrew his hand slowly, trying to process what had just occurred. "That was unusual," Mara whispered, noticing the moment from the side. I don't understand," Auric admitted. He stared at Lyria, who was looking at him with an unreadable expression. "Was it me? Did I do something wrong?" Lyria shook her head gently. "No, Captain. You did nothing wrong. I have never felt anything like that before. Your touch, it resonated with something within me." Auric blinked. "Resonated? What do you mean?" "I cannot explain fully," she said, her eyes holding his gaze. "Humans, you are different. There is energy within you that is rare even for Zytherians." Auric felt a mixture of awe and disbelief. Humans were nothing special compared to Zytherians, or so he had thought. Yet here was a princess admitting that something about him, something about humanity, stirred her. The rest of the ceremony passed in a blur. Auric shook hands with other leaders, exchanged polite greetings, and observed the alien delegates. Yet his mind kept returning to Lyria. Her tremble, her words, the way she had looked at him. It felt like the beginning of something important, something that could change everything he thought he knew about humans. After the ceremony, the humans were escorted to a reception hall made entirely of crystal and light. Auric found a quiet corner trying to process the encounter. Mara joined him. "You're thinking about her," she said, smiling knowingly. I don't know, Arik admitted. There's something strange about that moment. I've met aliens before, but she reacted to me in a way I didn't expect. Mara shrugged. Maybe she's just impressed. Or maybe there's more to it. Zitherians are sensitive to energy, emotions. But a tremble like that? It's rare, even for them. Arik nodded slowly. That's what worries me. If she reacted that way to me, what does it mean for humanity? And for her? The night continued with music, conversation, and exchanges of gifts. Humans were amazed by the technology Zitherians displayed, their ability to manipulate light and sound with thought, and their deep understanding of energy. Yet for Arik, none of it compared to the strange connection he felt with the princess. At one point, he found himself walking through the crystal gardens outside. The air was soft and cool, and the light from the floating rivers reflected in thousands of tiny rainbows. He paused, wondering if Lyria might join him. She is expecting you, a gentle voice said behind him. Arik turned to see a young Zitherian aide. Princess Lyria would like to speak with you for a moment. Arik swallowed nervously but followed. Lyria waited by a glowing crystal fountain, her eyes reflecting the dancing light. She smiled faintly, a mixture of curiosity and something softer, something human. Captain Arik, she said, I wish to understand. That moment. When we touched, I want to know why it affected me. Arik hesitated. How could he explain? I don't know, he said honestly. I felt something too. I didn't expect it, maybe. It's just that humans, we feel things deeply. Maybe that's what reached you. Lyria tilted her head. Perhaps humans. Your species is full of surprises. I have studied energy, physiology, and emotion, but nothing prepared me for this. They stood in silence, hands almost touching again. The energy between them was faint but undeniable. Neither spoke, yet both understood that this was a moment that could not be ignored. Will you teach me? Lyria asked finally. Teach me about humans. Teach me why this is happening. Arik smiled, a mixture of nervousness and excitement. I can try. And maybe you can teach me about Zitherians too, I feel. There's a lot we could learn from each other. Lyria nodded. Then let this be the beginning, not just for you and me, but for our worlds. As the night sky of Zitheria shimmered above them, Arik realized that this mission was no longer just about diplomacy. It was about discovery, of a new world, a new people, and the extraordinary nature of humanity itself. And in that moment, the tremble of the alien princess's hand remained in his mind, a mystery and a promise both, signaling that something extraordinary had begun. The morning sun cast long beams of light across Zitheria's crystal towers. Captain Arik Vance awoke in the human delegation's quarters with a strange mixture of excitement and tension. The tremble he had felt when he touched Princess Lyria's hand the night before lingered in his mind. He had not experienced anything like it in all his years of exploration. Captain, are you coming? Called Lieutenant Mara Ellis, standing at the door. Her expression held amusement, but her eyes carried curiosity. The scientists and Zitherian advisors are waiting. They want to study the unusual reaction from yesterday. Arik rubbed his temples. Study it? I feel like they're trying to turn my life into a physics experiment, Mara chuckled. Maybe, but you have to admit humans causing that reaction in a princess. That's remarkable. Arik paused. Remarkable. Or dangerous. They walked through the crystal corridors, their footsteps echoing softly. Outside, the city glittered with light and energy. Zitherians moved gracefully, their soft glowing forms weaving through the streets. Every human in the delegation felt small in comparison, yet there was a quiet pride in knowing that their presence had already left a mark. In the research hall, scientists and Zitherian advisors gathered around a holographic table. Energy flows, body responses, and physiological data from the ceremonial hand touch were projected in glowing blue light. Arik felt slightly uncomfortable being the subject of so much analysis, but he remained attentive. Captain Vance, a Zitherian advisor, said, his voice calm but firm, Our observations are inconclusive but significant. Princess Lyria's response to your touch was unusual. Trembling of this kind is rare among Zitherians, and we have never seen it caused by another species. Arik glanced at Mara, who gave him a small shrug. In other words, he said, trying to sound casual, I freaked her out. The Zitherians ignored the joke. Not fear, the advisor clarified. Resonance. Emotional and energetic resonance. Your physiology, Captain, contains traits that are unique. Traits that interact with Zetherian energy in ways we do not fully understand. Aric's curiosity deepened. Traits unique? You mean humans are different from you? The advisor inclined his head. Yes, humans are adaptable, unpredictable, and emotionally complex. These qualities create energy patterns that are unfamiliar to Zetherians. The effect on Princess Lyria was one of curiosity, fascination, and recognition of something new. Aric leaned back, trying to process the words. Recognition of something new? You're saying she felt something in me that she's never experienced before? Exactly, said the advisor. It is not dangerous, but it is significant. Humans possess qualities that could influence Zetherian society in unforeseen ways. Aric's mind raced. He had always thought humans were clever and resourceful, but here was proof that their emotional depth and unpredictability made them extraordinary, even to an advanced alien race. The HFY truth hit him. Humans were special in ways that no technology could measure. Later that day, Aric was invited to meet Princess Lyria in a more private setting. The palace garden, a vast space filled with glowing plants and floating crystal orbs, was breathtaking. Lyria stood waiting beside a stream of floating light. She smiled faintly as he approached. Captain Vance, she said softly, I have thought about our touch. Endlessly, Aric nodded. So have I. I want to understand, Princess. If humans are different, I want to learn how it matters to you and to your people. Lyria stepped closer, and for a moment their hands hovered near each other. The energy was subtle but present, a tingling warmth that neither could ignore. You feel it too, she whispered. The connection. It is not fear or discomfort. It is in curiosity. It is something I cannot explain fully, yet I sense it. Aric swallowed. Maybe that's just it. Humans, we feel deeply. We react unpredictably. We take risks, care for others, and try to find hope in impossible situations. Maybe that's why you felt something. Lyria tilted her head thoughtfully. Perhaps. Your species is remarkable. Your courage, your emotional depth, your unpredictability. It is unlike anything I have known. Most Zetherians are careful, precise, controlled. Humans are free. Aric felt a quiet pride. We are free in ways that sometimes get us into trouble, he admitted with a small smile. But we learn, we adapt, and sometimes we surprise even ourselves. For the first time, Lyria laughed, a sound like chimes in a gentle wind. You are bold, Captain. Your spirit is inspiring. The human delegation and Zetherian advisors had warned Aric to be cautious, to avoid appearing arrogant or reckless. Yet in that moment he felt something greater than caution. He felt the power of human uniqueness, the quality that had caused Lyria to tremble. Over the next few days, Aric and Lyria spent time together under careful supervision. They walked through gardens, explored crystal libraries, and shared stories about their worlds. Lyria showed him Zetherian art, which conveyed emotion through color, movement, and light. Aric showed her human music, books, and stories filled with adventure and courage. Each interaction deepened their understanding. Lyria realized that humans did not just survive. They thrived on challenges, curiosity, and connections. Aric realized that Zetherians were wise, patient, and elegant, yet sometimes lacked the spark of unpredictability that made humans unique. One afternoon, as they walked along a glowing bridge above the city, Lyria spoke quietly. Captain, your presence changes something in me. I cannot ignore it. When we touched hands, it was not merely a gesture, it was recognition. Humans carry energy that is different, powerful, and I feel drawn to it. Aric felt a mixture of awe and responsibility. I don't fully understand it myself, but if it has this effect on you, maybe it can help both our peoples. Maybe it can teach us something new about connection, trust, and courage. Lyria looked at him with seriousness. It could, but some may not see it as harmless. The Council? Not all will welcome this. They fear change, Captain. They fear influence from another species. Aric nodded. I understand. But perhaps fear is the reason humans can make a difference. We face danger. We adapt and we act even when the outcome is uncertain. That is something Zetherians may need to see and learn from. Over the following week, scientists conducted careful experiments, observing interactions between humans and Zetherians. Data confirmed what Aric and Lyria had already sensed. Human presence stirred emotions and energy in ways Zetherians could not replicate. Humans were unpredictable, courageous, and emotionally expressive. They inspired curiosity, admiration, and sometimes unease, but never indifference. Lyria continued to study Auric closely. She noticed the way he smiled in difficult situations, how he adapted to unexpected challenges, and how he treated both humans and Zetherians with respect and empathy. Each trait deepened her admiration, and each moment of connection caused a small, involuntary tremble whenever their hands met, even in passing gestures. For Auric, the realization was profound. Humans were capable of influencing alien societies, not through power or technology, but through their spirit, courage, and compassion. It was a form of strength Zetherians had not experienced before. One evening, as the twin moons of Zetheria rose above the city, Lyria invited Auric to walk along the crystal gardens once more. The night was filled with soft luminescence and the air hummed with gentle energy. "Captain," she said, stopping beside a floating pool of light, "I wish to understand humans fully. Not just their strength, but their courage, their compassion, and their unpredictability. I wish to know why your presence matters." Auric took a deep breath. "Princess, humans are not perfect. We make mistakes, we struggle, and we face impossible odds. But we also rise. We care deeply. We fight for what we believe in. And we inspire hope even in darkness. That is why our presence matters. That is why it affected you." Lyria extended her hand slowly. The energy between them was gentle but undeniable. She trembled slightly, a reaction that no longer felt fearful but profound. An acknowledgement of the human spirit she had begun to understand. Auric took her hand with care. The resonance was subtle but real, a reminder that this connection was extraordinary. "Then let us continue learning," he said softly, "about each other and about what humans can bring to your world." Lyria nodded, her eyes reflecting both curiosity and admiration. "Yes, Captain. Let this be the beginning, not just for you and me, but for our worlds." As they walked through the glowing gardens hand in hand, Auric realized that this was only the start of something remarkable. Humans had always believed in the power of courage, creativity, and connection. Now those qualities had the power to touch even an alien heart, sparking curiosity and change on a world far beyond Earth. The tremble of Princess Lyria's hand was no longer a mystery. It was the first sign of understanding, the first spark of a bond that could unite two species, and Captain Auric Vance knew that humanity's story on Zetheria was only beginning. Days passed on Zetheria, and the connection between Captain Auric Vance and Princess Lyria grew stronger. The tremble in her hand had become a quiet, almost natural response, a sign of trust and curiosity rather than fear. Yet not all Zetherians welcomed this change. In the council chamber, a group of elders and high-ranking officials met in urgent secrecy. Their faces, normally calm and composed, were clouded with worry. "Princess Lyria," one elder said, his voice low but stern, "your fascination with humans is dangerous. The human presence is unpredictable. It could destabilize our society." Lyria's eyes flashed with determination. "I will not abandon learning from them. Humans have brought insight, courage, and perspective we cannot ignore. I will not let fear dictate understanding." Another council member's tone was sharper. "You are the future of Zetheria. Your influence must be protected. If your fascination with humans grows, some factions may take matters into their own hands. They will act against you." The warnings chilled Lyria, but she remained resolute. She understood that curiosity and courage often invited danger. Yet she could not deny the truth she had felt when Auric had touched her hand. Humans were extraordinary. Meanwhile, Auric continued his training and observation of Zetherian culture. He noticed that Zetherians were highly disciplined, moving with precision and thought. Their energy was controlled and measured. Humans, in contrast, were unpredictable, impulsive, and emotionally expressive. That difference had already created sparks of intrigue and concern among the alien council. One evening, while the twins' moons of Zetheria glowed softly over the city, chaos erupted. A rogue faction of Zetherians, those opposed to human influence, launched an attack during a ceremonial gathering. They had disguised themselves among the crowd, waiting for the perfect moment. Princess Lyria was the primary target. She stood at the center of the gathering, speaking about unity and understanding, when a sudden flash of energy knocked several guards off balance. Panic spread through the crowd. "Princess!" Auric shouted, pushing through the crowd toward her side. The rogue faction moved quickly, surrounding Lyria. Their weapons emitted a pulsing light, designed to immobilize and intimidate. Arik's heart raced. He had trained for combat situations on human worlds, but nothing had prepared him for alien technology of this magnitude. "Stay calm," Arik muttered to himself. Scanning the area, he saw that the faction had underestimated the humans' adaptability. While Zetharians were skilled and precise, they were limited by rigid tactics. Humans, on the other hand, thrived in chaos. With quick thinking, Arik grabbed a nearby reflective crystal and angled it to redirect the energy pulses. The rogue attackers faltered, their devices overloaded by the deflection. Arik motioned to his team, "Form a protective circle around the princess," he commanded. Humans moved instinctively, covering Lyria and coordinating silently. The Zetharian guards struggled to adapt to the humans' fluid tactics. Lyria, though initially frightened, recognized the courage and quick thinking of the humans. When Arik reached her side, their hands brushed once more. A faint tremble passed through her, but this time it was different, an acknowledgement of trust and relief. "Captain, thank you," she said quietly, her voice steady despite the chaos. Arik gave a tight nod. "We're not done yet. Stay close." Together, humans and loyal Zetharians pushed back the rogue faction. Arik's ingenuity made a difference. He noticed structural weaknesses in the hall and led his team through unexpected routes, flanking the attackers. The combination of human unpredictability and Zetharian precision slowly turned the tide. During the final confrontation, one rogue Zetharian tried to overpower Lyria directly. Arik stepped in, blocking the attack and disarming the intruder with a swift, precise maneuver. The rogue fell to the ground, stunned. Lyria's eyes widened, not at the danger but at the human courage and decisiveness that had saved her. When the chaos finally ended, the palace was quiet except for the scattered murmurs of survivors. The rogue faction had been captured and the threat neutralized. Yet the council now faced undeniable proof. Humans were not just visitors, they were capable allies. Arik wiped sweat from his brow, feeling the rush of adrenaline fade. He looked at Lyria, who now regarded him with a mixture of admiration and wonder. "Captain," she said softly, "humans, you are remarkable. Not because of strength alone, but because of courage, creativity, and heart." Arik smiled faintly. "That's all we have. That and the will to keep going even when things seem impossible." Lyria nodded. "It is more than enough. I understand now why you affect me the way you do. Your species is capable of things we cannot easily measure. That is power, Captain. Not in weapons, but in spirit." The aftermath of the attack created a ripple through Zetharian society. Many were shaken, but others were curious. Humans had proven their resourcefulness, bravery, and ingenuity under pressure. Stories of the incident spread quickly, sparking debates and discussions among citizens and council members alike. Arik, however, remained focused on Lyria. He understood that this was more than a mission of diplomacy. The bond they had formed was now strengthened by shared danger. Humans were not only survivors, they were catalysts for change. Over the next few days, Arik and Lyria met in private to discuss what had happened. They walked through the crystal gardens, the air still humming with residual energy from the attack. "Captain, I have studied humans for months," Lyria said, "but I never realized how adaptable you could be. Even in chaos, you find solutions. You think differently. You inspire courage. That is extraordinary." Arik paused. "We do what we must. We face fear, adapt, and act. It's not always smart, but it works more often than not." Lyria smiled faintly. "Your unpredictability is refreshing. Most Zetharians fear change or uncertainty. Humans embrace it. That is why you stirred something within me the moment we touched hands. Your species is alive in ways ours rarely are." Arik felt a quiet pride. He had always believed in humanity's potential, but hearing it from an advanced alien princess made it tangible. Humans were special, not because of machines or weapons, but because of courage, empathy, and heart. That evening, the council held a public meeting to address the attack. Lyria spoke about unity, trust, and the lessons humans had brought to their society. "We have learned that strength is not only in control or precision," she said, her eyes briefly meeting Arik's. "Strength is also in courage, creativity, and heart. The humans showed us this. We should not fear their influence. We should learn from it." Some council members remained wary, but others nodded in agreement. The incident had shifted perspectives. Humans had earned respect not just through diplomacy but through action. After the council meeting, Lyria and Auric found themselves alone in a quiet courtyard. The moons reflected on the crystal floor, casting a soft glow over them. "You were amazing," Lyria said quietly, her hand brushing his. A faint tremble passed through her again. Auric took her hand gently. "I just did what humans do. We face the impossible and we adapt, that's all." "It is more than all," she replied. "It is enough to change hearts. Enough to show that humans are remarkable." Auric realized that this was the true meaning of their connection. The tremble was no longer just curiosity. It was recognition of something extraordinary in humans. That recognition had the power to influence not just a princess but an entire society. As they walked through the gardens hand in hand, Auric knew the challenges were far from over. The rogue faction had been defeated, but opposition remained. Some Zitherians feared change, others feared human influence. Yet he also knew this: wherever humans went, courage, adaptability, and heart would follow. And in the face of danger, those qualities would always shine. The night air hummed softly around them, a gentle reminder of the strange energy that connected them. For Auric, this was more than a mission. It was the beginning of a story that would redefine humanity's place among the stars. And for Princess Lyria, the tremble in her hand was no longer a sign of fear. It was a sign of admiration, understanding, and the extraordinary spark that humans carried. A spark that could ignite change across worlds. The days following the attack had brought a new energy to Zithria. Humans were no longer strangers or guests. They had become symbols of courage and adaptability. Captain Auric Vance noticed the change immediately. Zitherians, once distant and formal, now regarded the human delegation with curiosity, admiration, and sometimes quiet awe. Princess Lyria moved with renewed confidence. The tremble in her hand, once an unconscious reaction, had become a quiet acknowledgement of humanity's impact. She had spent hours in reflection, thinking about the ways humans acted, how they faced danger, and how they inspired trust even under the most uncertain circumstances. One morning, Auric was invited to the palace's central learning chamber. The walls were transparent crystal, giving a clear view of the floating rivers of light and the crystal forests beyond. Zitherian scientists, philosophers, and advisors had gathered to observe and discuss the humans. "Captain Vance," said a senior Zitherian researcher, "we have been reviewing the interaction since the ceremonial hand touch and the recent events. We are beginning to understand something remarkable. Humans possess emotional and cognitive traits that Zitherians rarely express fully. This influences even our own species in ways we cannot ignore." Auric listened carefully. "I think I understand. Humans are adaptable, curious, and deeply emotional. We use these traits to learn, connect, and survive. But why does it affect Zitherians so strongly?" The researcher tilted their head. "Your unpredictability and your emotional openness create energy patterns that interact with Zitherian physiology. Most of our species is highly controlled, precise, and disciplined. Humans are free. That freedom inspires, unsettles, and awakens curiosity. Princess Lyria's response is the clearest example. She felt something unique, something that Zitherians cannot easily produce themselves." Auric's chest swelled with quiet pride. Humans had always valued courage, empathy, and resourcefulness. Now, on a distant planet among an advanced alien species, those same traits had earned respect and fascination. Humanity's strength was not just in technology or strategy. It was in heart, mind, and spirit. Later, Auric met with Lyria in a private garden. The sun reflected off floating crystal formations, casting patterns of light on the ground. Lyria walked toward him, her usual elegance complemented by a gentle warmth in her eyes. "Captain," she said softly, "I have learned much since the attack. Humans are extraordinary, not because of strength or skill alone, but because of spirit, courage, and empathy. I see now why your presence stirred something in me." Auric nodded. "I feel the same. Humans are not perfect, but we have qualities that can make a difference. We inspire, adapt, and act even when things seem impossible." Lyria smiled faintly. "Your species reminds me that life is more than precision and control. You show resilience, creativity, and heart. That is rare, and it is why I trust you." Auric felt the tremble return in her hand, subtle but undeniable. It was no longer fear or surprise, it was recognition, understanding, and admiration. He took her hand carefully, letting the connection speak without words. Over the following weeks, the humans and Lyria worked together to explore Zitherian society in depth. Arik observed how the Zitherians organized their cities, governed their people, and approached challenges. They were brilliant, disciplined, and harmonious. Yet Arik noticed something missing: the spark of unpredictability, the courage to act when outcomes were uncertain, and the ability to inspire change through heart and creativity. Humans, in contrast, thrived on these very traits. They improvised, adapted, and connected in ways that Zitherians could not. Arik realized that humans' influence on Zitheria would be subtle but profound. It was not domination. It was inspiration. Humans could awaken potential, encourage innovation, and spark courage in those who had always followed routine. One afternoon, Lyria invited Arik to a lecture hall filled with Zitherian students. She wanted them to see humans not as curiosities but as examples of courage, adaptability, and emotional depth. "Captain Vance," she began, addressing the hall. "Humans have traits that challenge our assumptions. They face uncertainty with courage, solve problems with creativity, and act with empathy even when outcomes are uncertain. These qualities are not bound by technology or skill. They are bound by spirit. Observe, learn, and consider how we might embrace such qualities without losing our own strengths." Arik stepped forward, speaking directly to the students. "Humans are not perfect. We fail, we struggle, and we face fear. But we try. We adapt, we care. That is what makes us human. And that same spirit can inspire any species willing to see beyond limits." The students listened in fascination. Some were skeptical, but many were captivated. They had never seen such honesty, courage, or openness expressed so clearly. Even the most disciplined Zitherians found themselves questioning what they had always believed about strength and control. In the evenings, Arik and Lyria would walk together through the crystal gardens. Each conversation deepened their understanding of each other's species. Lyria spoke of Zitherian culture, values, and philosophy. Arik shared human history, struggles, and triumphs. The exchange was not just about information, it was about perspective. "Captain," Lyria said one night, "I think humans are a mirror. You show us what courage and heart look like in action. You show us that unpredictability can be a strength, and that emotional depth can inspire change. That is something we rarely experience in our own controlled lives." Arik smiled. "We humans have survived because of those traits. We adapt, we connect, we hope, and sometimes we surprise even ourselves. That's our power." As they walked, their hands brushed again. Lyria trembled softly, a subtle reaction that had become familiar. Arik no longer saw it as a mystery. It was a sign of growing trust, understanding, and admiration. Humans had touched her heart and mind in a way no Zitherian had before. Meanwhile, the council continued to debate the human influence. Some members remained cautious, fearing change and unpredictability. Others began to embrace the lessons humans were teaching: courage, adaptability, and moral strength. Slowly, a cultural shift began to take root. Lyria addressed the council once more, her voice firm yet gentle. "Humans are not here to replace us or control us. They show us what is possible when courage, creativity, and heart guide action. We can learn from them without losing our own identity. That is strength." The council members nodded thoughtfully. Resistance remained, but the tide of opinion was turning. Humans had proven themselves not through force but through example. Arik felt a quiet sense of satisfaction. He had always believed in humanity's potential, but seeing it recognized by an advanced alien civilization was deeply rewarding. Humans were not just survivors. They were catalysts capable of inspiring courage, hope, and change across worlds. One evening, as the twin moons rose over Zitheria, Arik and Lyria stood together on a balcony overlooking the glowing city. The air was filled with soft energy, and the light reflected in 1,000 colors across the crystal towers. "Captain," Lyria said softly, "I think I understand humans better than I ever imagined. Your courage, adaptability, and heart, they are extraordinary, and they have changed me, and perhaps others in ways I cannot yet fully describe." Arik took her hand gently, feeling the faint tremble once more. "Princess, humans have always believed in the power of courage and connection. Now I see that power can reach even the farthest stars." Lyria smiled, a soft, radiant expression that made the crystal city seem even brighter. "Then let us continue learning from each other. Humanity and Zitheria together. Perhaps we can create something greater than either could alone." Arik nodded, understanding the weight of her words. This was no longer just a mission of diplomacy. It was a partnership, a shared journey of discovery, and a testament to the strength of the human spirit. The tremble in Lyria's hand was now a symbol. It was no longer a mystery or a sign of fear. It was recognition, admiration, and the spark of something extraordinary. Humanity had shown Zytheria that courage, empathy, and creativity could change minds, hearts, and even worlds. As they stood together, hand in hand, Arik realized that humans had always known their own worth, even if the universe had not yet recognized it. And now, on a distant world of light and crystal, humanity's unique qualities were not only seen, they were celebrated. The path ahead would still be full of challenges, but Arik felt certain that with courage, heart, and human ingenuity they could overcome anything, and Princess Lyria, trembling ever so slightly, would be there to witness it all. The weeks following the council's discussions were filled with preparation and reflection. Zytheria had begun to change, not in drastic ways, but in subtle, profound shifts. Humans were no longer seen as outsiders. They were partners, mentors, and examples of courage and adaptability. Captain Arik Vance walked through the central plaza with Princess Lyria at his side. Citizens of Zytheria paused to watch them, whispering among themselves. There was admiration in their eyes, curiosity in their expressions, and a quiet respect for the humans who had saved their princess and inspired their people. "Arik," Lyria said softly, "I cannot thank you enough. Humans have shown us what courage and heart truly mean. I see now that our species can grow by embracing qualities that are not inherent to us alone." Arik smiled. "Princess, humans are not perfect. We stumble, we fail, and we make mistakes. But we try. That's what makes us strong. And that's strength. It inspires others. That includes you." Lyria's hand brushed against his, and for a moment she trembled lightly, an unconscious acknowledgement of trust, admiration, and the connection they shared. Arik looked into her eyes and saw both intelligence and wonder. The moment was quiet, but it carried the weight of shared experience, danger, and discovery. The final challenge came unexpectedly. A distant system had detected unusual energy signals near Zytheria's outer moons. Zytherian scouts reported a small fleet approaching, unidentified, fast, and armed with advanced technology. The council convened immediately. "This fleet is unknown," one elder said. "We do not know their intentions. They may be explorers, traders, or invaders." Lyria turned to Arik. "Your people have experience with unexpected threats. We need your guidance." Arik nodded, feeling the familiar rush of determination. Humans thrived under uncertainty. He quickly assessed the situation, coordinating with Zytherian scientists and strategists. "We need to understand their technology first," he said. "We'll scan their ships, determine weaknesses, and create a plan. Zytherians are brilliant, but humans can improvise when things change unexpectedly." The council approved the plan. Humans and Zytherians worked together in harmony, combining discipline with adaptability. Zytherians monitored energy flows and shields, while humans suggested unconventional strategies and rapid response tactics. When the fleet arrived, they did not immediately attack. Instead, they appeared to observe Zytheria's defenses. Arik seized the opportunity. He suggested sending a small human-led delegation to make contact, combining diplomacy with careful technological assessment. Lyria joined him, standing as a symbol of trust and unity. "We represent two worlds," she said, addressing the unknown fleet. "We seek understanding, not conflict, but we are prepared to defend our home if necessary." The delegation's courage and honesty impressed the visitors. After a tense dialogue, the fleet's leader revealed they were explorers curious about Zytheria's energy patterns. Humans' unpredictable nature and Lyria's calm diplomacy had averted potential conflict. Back on the palace balcony that night, Lyria turned to Arik. "Captain, you and your people have shown not only courage but wisdom. Humans inspire even when others hesitate. You have changed Zytheria and me." Arik shook his head with a small laugh. "We've learned too. Your people are brilliant, patient, and thoughtful. Humans can't replicate everything you do, but we can share our strengths, and together we're stronger." The council officially recognized humans as allies. A new era of cooperation began, blending human adaptability with Zytherian discipline. Students studied human problem-solving alongside Zytherian science. Citizens learned about courage, empathy, and emotional intelligence. Even skeptics began to admire the human spirit. In private, Lyria and Arik spent hours walking through the crystal forests. Each day their bond deepened. Lyria's hand trembled occasionally when it brushed his, a quiet acknowledgement of admiration and trust rather than fear. Arik found himself inspired by her intelligence, patience, and gentle strength. "Arik," Lyria said one afternoon, "do you realize what we have accomplished together? Our species may be different, but we have learned from one another. We have shown that courage, creativity, and heart can cross worlds." Arik smiled. "I know. Humans have always believed that courage and hope can change the world. Now we're seeing it happen on Zytheria." They stopped beside a floating stream of light, watching the reflections dance. Lyria extended her hand and Arik took it carefully. The subtle tremble passed through her fingers. He held her hand gently, understanding the power of that simple gesture. "You see," Lyria whispered, "your species is extraordinary, not because of strength or skill alone, but because of heart, unpredictability, and courage. That is what matters," Arik nodded, "and humans see the same in you. We admire your wisdom, your patience, and your ability to inspire trust. Together we make each other stronger." The city below them glittered with energy. Zytherians and humans had begun working side by side in education, exploration, and governance. Projects that would have taken years alone were now completed in months, thanks to combined ingenuity. Lyria spoke to the people at a ceremony celebrating the alliance. "Humans are not merely visitors," she said. "They are partners. Their courage, creativity, and emotional depth remind us that growth and understanding require more than precision. They require heart." Arik stood beside her, quietly proud. He understood that this moment was larger than any mission, any battle, or any discovery. Humans had shown their value not through domination or conquest, but through spirit, courage, and empathy. Zytheria had learned that humanity could inspire change, strengthen bonds, and create a new future. As the ceremony ended, Lyria and Arik walked through the crystal forests. The air shimmered with light and energy. They paused at a bridge of floating crystals where the twin moons reflected perfectly in the stream below. "Arik," Lyria said, her voice soft, "do you feel it? The connection? It is more than a bond between two people. It is a bridge between our worlds." Arik nodded. "I feel it. Humans have always believed that courage, empathy, and hope can change the impossible, and now we are seeing it across worlds. Together we can achieve anything." Lyria's hand trembled once more, faint but deliberate. Arik took it, holding it firmly yet gently. It was a symbol of trust, admiration, and the extraordinary spark that humans carried. A spark that had changed a princess, a society, and perhaps even a world. "Then," Lyria said, "let us step into this new era together. Humans and Zytherians, strength and heart, wisdom and courage. Let us build a future where both our peoples thrive." Arik smiled, feeling the weight of possibility and hope. "We will, and we will do it side by side. Humans have always believed in the power of connection, and now we have a chance to show it across the stars." The night stretched around them, full of light, energy, and promise. The city glittered below, and the crystal forests hummed softly. For Arik, this was more than a victory. It was proof of humanity's unique strength. Courage, creativity, empathy, and heart were more powerful than any weapon. For Princess Lyria, the tremble in her hand was no longer mysterious or fragile. It was a sign of admiration, understanding, and connection, a recognition that humans were extraordinary, not only in action but in spirit. And as the moons of Zytheria rose high in the sky, casting silver light across the city, Arik and Lyria stood together hand in hand. The tremble lingered, subtle and beautiful, a reminder of everything humans could bring to the universe: hope, courage, and the power to inspire change. It was the beginning of a new era, a partnership between two worlds. Humans had left their mark not through conquest or control, but through heart, courage, and connection. Zytheria had learned that humanity's greatest strength was not in machines or weapons, but in the qualities that had always defined them: spirit, creativity, and resilience, and Captain Arik Vance knew that. Wherever humans went next, they would carry that spark, touching hearts, inspiring courage, and leaving the universe forever changed.